Hey, what's up? Jeff Lerner, and today we're going to talk about how to sell more stuff. This is pretty much the key to success in life. You're always selling something, whether you know it or not, so you might as well be good at it. Okay, so today we're going to be studying what I call the 16-digit sales method, or unless your prospect is carrying Amex, then it's a 15-digit sales method because Amexes have one less number. So what you need to do is, and I'm totally kidding, we're not here to talk about getting people's credit card numbers, but we are here to talk about how to sell more stuff in general. And though I will say sometimes that does actually result in getting people's credit card numbers, which can be a really great feeling if they're buying something that you feel really good about selling, which frankly, if that's not the case, you shouldn't be selling it. But yeah, so maybe that's a good place to start, is like to sort of reference the context of these pretty mediocre jokes that I'm telling, which is that sales has like this icky factor, this kind of weird vibe to it that a lot of people are uncomfortable about. But I would say part one of how to sell more stuff is heart sales. You have to fall in love with sales. Sales is a beautiful thing. Sales is how anything in this world gets done. It's like anytime you took a job, it's because some HR person sold you that job would be good for you. When you enrolled in school, it's because your parents or your guidance counselor or someone enrolled you and sold you. Those are literally the same thing. Enrollment, selling, alignment, transference of belief, like it's all the same stuff. It all happens in the same parts of the brain. Everything that you've done in this life has been a result of getting sold and involves selling someone else or selling yourself on continuing to move forward. Fall in love with this process, because this basically just means understanding human psychology and being able to use that understanding as a tool in our life. Okay, so that's step one. But from a more tactical level, the first step of selling more stuff, this comes down to just like what the technical term is perception architecture, but essentially it's just controlling the environmental stimulus that can help lead to the sale. First of all, what you want to do is, I call it look the part plus one. So this is for face-to-face selling. If you're going to be in a sales environment, you want to look the part. Whatever's consistent with the expectation of your environment. So like, let's say you're in a car dealership, there's kind of a dress code for that, probably coat and tie. If you're doing, going out in the door to door, say business selling, maybe you work for a radio station, maybe you work for, a phone company, maybe do real estate, you got to go out and meet people. Then there's probably, a little tapered back dress code because you're out, especially if you live in a warmer climate. But this is the key right here. You want to meet people's expectations plus one. You got to throw that plus one in. And frankly, the best way I've found to throw in a little plus one action is your shoes and your belt and maybe a watch. Shoes, belt, maybe watch. Not too gaudy on the watch. But you can walk in looking exactly how they'd expect, only you got a really nice crisp set of shoes, and you have no idea what that does for the environment. I've seen it. I'll go out shopping with my wife, for example, and she's really finely attuned to this kind of thing. And she literally will buy stuff, and we'll walk out of there, and she'll be like, "Did you see his shoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw his shoes." And it was like, it made it easier to buy because you respect people that put that little extra touch. Because if they're going to go that little extra plus one in the way they take care of themselves and the way they present themselves, you feel like the product is going to carry the plus one, the service is going to carry the plus one, the warranty and the performance is going to carry the plus one. It may sound cheesy, but it is absolutely real and true. The next thing is you want to match energy plus one. You walk into a sale, and you develop a sense of this, and this is true on the phone too. You feel where the other person's coming from, and if they're at a 5, set yourself to a 5, and then plus one it. Come to a 6. And what'll happen is over the course of the conversation, if you're too far above them, they'll recoil, they'll pull away, they'll be blown away, right? And they'll actually pull back. You'll be at a 5, they're at a 5, you come in at a 9, they go to like a 2. But they're at a 5, you come in at a 5, and you gradually turn the temperature up to 6. they'll start to come up to 6 too, and now you can bump up to a 7. And what'll happen is over the course of a sales conversation, you'll find people naturally getting more energized through the conversation with you. And what do you think that does for them psychologically? By coming in just above them, and essentially what you're doing is you're creating this lift. You're creating a little slight energetic lift through the whole conversation where you're always just a little above them. They'll naturally draw up to match you. Because people, if people feel dominated, then they get defensive. If people feel just slightly out of balance, like if somebody's, a quarter inch taller than you, you might find yourself kind of stretching just a little bit, just to kind of even things out, right? People will naturally try to even the energy with you. And so over the course of the conversation, what's happening? They're feeling better because we know this is, biological fact that, you can't be like this, you can't be low energy, you can't be slumped or slouched and be really excited. And at the same time, if you get up and you get erect, and probably shouldn't say get erect on video, get up and maintain good posture and try to be pissed off and depressed and angry at the world. You can't do it, right? The more you naturally create energetic lift through the course of the conversation, you actually change the way people feel. And don't you think it might help you in sales if people naturally feel better over the course of a conversation with you, if they naturally feel more energized over the course of a conversation with you? So you always got to match their energy +1. The next thing, this is tactical. This is just something that frankly just takes practice. Once you get in the habit of it, you'll like the way it feels, and you actually will just naturally tend to do it, which is asking open-ended questions. There is nothing more stunted and boring and energy sapping in a conversation than asking yes or no questions, or even worse, failing to ever stop and ask a question, right? The consistency of checking in with the person, they call it checking in, or even trial closing is a little different, because trial closing is actually trying to get them to affirmative, not necessarily hard yeses, but sort of concise affirmative answers where they're in agreement with you. But before you get into trial closes, this checking in concept of instead of saying, you follow me? I mean, that's good. You follow me? And they say yes. What are they going to say? No. But okay, so I want to make sure you're following me. Can you explain back what I just said in your own words? How's that going to draw somebody in? Boom, you just checked them, right? If they're checked out, they can't hide it. They have to fake it just to not look dumb. They have to get re-engaged just to cover their own apathy in that moment, right? Hey, I just want to make sure that you're following what I'm saying. Do you mind saying back to me what I just said in your own words? I just want to make sure we're crystal clear on this point. Get them talking, right? Either asking questions or solicitations in a way that draw out of them. Get them saying the language back to you that you're trying to say to them, because then they're speaking the sales language out of their own mouths. And there is no sound you can make out of your mouth that is half as sweet to a person as the sound that they make with their mouth, right? So get them to be the ones speaking the reasons to you why they need to make whatever the decision is. The final concept, and that kind of goes with energy matching, but I'll give it its own bullet, open-ended questions. And then the final one, and this, by the way, this isn't just about how to sell more stuff. This is about just how to have more epic results across all aspects of your life. Responsive listening. And responsive listening, this is actually a concept that comes from conflict resolution. This comes from behavioral therapy and psychotherapy. They actually teach this to people that have personality disorders and borderline personality, even sociopaths that they're trying to rehabilitate into normalcy. They're like, come on, man, you gotta learn to responsively listen to people, because even if you are misanthropic to the point where you struggle to even fake it with people. Misanthropic is my big word of the day that means you don't like people. Even if you struggle to fake it, this is even how you fake it. This is how you can make people feel like you like them, even on a day when you're so miserable and you don't want to be there. And look, we all have bad days. Even on your worst day, this is an effective tactic, right? This is how you make people feel heard. This is how you build rapport. This is how you create trust with people. Now, ideally, you're selling products that you believe in. You genuinely like to serve and help people. You recognize that we live in a world where there's really nowhere to hide. and that there's going to be crowdsourced feedback, and that you need to actually make the world a better place through whatever you do. And you don't hate people, and you're not constantly having to fake it. Those are all ideals. But even if, this is still the best tactic, right? So responsive listening, you can look it up, and you'll find all kinds of like therapy blogs and psychological techniques and courses and trainings and coachings and stuff. But basically, this is all about conflict resolution. This is when people are talking, it's about how you respond. It's how you listen responsively, so that through the course of listening, people are truly feeling heard. It's not enough to just take in their words. There's affirmations, there's nods, there's follow-up questions, there's body language. There's all these things you can do that make people feel like you're really hearing them. And here's the thing. It's not about magic words. It's not about magic gestures. It's not about magic closing lines. It's Maya Angelou. I go back to this again in my head. Maya Angelou, if you don't know her like most famous quote ever, and she had a lot of really awesome things she said, but the one that's impacted me the most, she said, people forget what you say, they forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. If you take that attitude in every sales conversation, where at the end of the conversation, the person just feels heard, they feel validated, they feel empathized, they feel like you stepped over to their side of the wall and you stood in it with them, and you fought the fight with them, and you felt what they felt, and you commiserated, but always at a +1. You felt their fear, but with a little more bravery. You matched their energy, but with a little more confidence. You looked as they expected, but with a little more panache. Just, you got in it with them, but you also helped pull them out a little bit. It's this fine line, but ultimately it's about making them feel so good when they interact with you that they want to do business with you, because it's the natural next step in deepening the relationship. Like anybody that's in a sales conversation with you, they know it's a sales conversation. Unless you've engaged in some hardcore, deceptive shenanigan trickery, most people know that they're in a sales conversation with you, right? And yet they stay in it willingly because it feels good if you do it well. And then at the end of it, the sale is the natural progression of the conversation. Like it's not this unpleasant, weird corner that you have to turn. It's the natural evolution of the conversation if you're managing the energy dynamics well and people are actually liking the way that they feel. And it doesn't mean it's going to work every time, but it means it never has to be this awkward, distasteful thing to just ask plainly for the money, because if you've set the energy up the right way, it's the natural place that it wants to go. But if you're not making people feel heard, if you don't develop and refine in yourself the art of effective, responsive listening, you're going to struggle, because people aren't going to like the way it feels to talk to you. And that's the thing. The thing is, you can't be responsively listening if you're talking, right? That's the other thing about focusing on this as a primary goal in the conversation. If you're focused on responsive listening, it means you're not talking too much. It means you're probably doing this pretty well, asking open-ended questions that actually give you answers that you can listen to responsively. See how it all fits together? Anyways, I hope this helps you sell more stuff. If you're not in a position, if you haven't embraced the awesomeness and the potential of your life that happens when you do step into selling and sales, I will tell you that you're missing out and encourage you in that direction. But if you're already in it, which if you've watched this much of the video, let's face it, you're probably in sales. I hope that this helps you sell more stuff and get a little more inspired and excited about what you do. The world needs salespeople. The world needs you. The world needs me. If we stop selling, nobody's got a job. Ain't no money changing hands, no economy, no money flow. Like everything screeches to a halt if we stop selling. So embrace what you do, love it, and be excellent at it. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click the alarm bell so you get notified whenever I post new videos. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have sales experience, if you've thought about selling, if you have any more tips that might be able to help the other people watching this video, if you've tried any of these things or have anything to add, I'd love to hear about it, all right? Thanks so much. I'll catch you on the next video.